What's up, you guys? I'm Dan. This is Frugal Not Cheap. Today, let's go on a drive with FSD Beta 11.3.6. So, you probably can't tell, but something's really wrong with the GPS. Or the routing. Yeah, the GPS is really messed up and it thought I was somewhere that I'm not. So yeah, that was pretty weird. I don't know, I've been having that recently. I think they said they were doing something with the GPS on the newer cars, and it seems like that has had some adverse effects also on my car as well. So we have a really weird route that's been put into the nav, and I don't want to go that direction, so I'm having to drive manually here just to get the navigation to go properly. So hopefully that's going to route in a second here. It's going to recalculate and take me on the much simpler and non-insane route. So here we go. We got Beta engaged. And so what we're doing here is just a simple drive to get to the grocery store. Hopefully the GPS issues aren't gonna continue, because I do think that is impacting performance a little bit here. And what I'm really trying to do is to show you a representative experience of what I've had with FSD Beta since I've got it. I've had it about 5 days now. And the first drive that I took, as is often the case, was not great. And then as the days progressed, it quickly got much better. And then I had some great drives. In fact, my drives were so good that I signed up for Uber because I thought it'd be fun to show people just how good the system is getting. So I signed up for Uber, went through the checks and stuff. It took a couple of days. And then I went out on a Thursday night to drive people around and try to blow their minds with FSD Beta. And I purposefully didn't tell them what was going on. And to my shock, they didn't even notice that I was not driving the car. So it was nighttime, so I figured, all right, let's try this in the daytime instead and see if they're going to be able to notice something then. So I went the next day. It was like a Friday afternoon when traffic was relatively light, around 2. I started, drove a couple of guys. Again, didn't notice at all that I wasn't driving the car. So I said, all right, I'm going to have to just go out and say, hey guys, the car is driving itself. Isn't that crazy? And so then I got more of a reaction. I took one lady on a drive, and we talked about it a little bit, but she didn't seem all that impressed. And then finally I got a guy who was kind of a car guy, knew some more stuff about Tesla, and he was a little bit more into it. But even then, I feel like the reaction was fairly muted. I don't know if FSD Beta, the knowledge that it's out there, like it exists, is so out there, or I'm not sure what the public perception is at this point about FSD Beta, right? I really expected that they would be a lot more surprised at its abilities. But I was surprised at its abilities in the sense that it was so smooth and human-like that they didn't even notice. So that was awesome. And I think so far we've seen a lot more of what I've been used to, which is, once I got the car going on the correct navigation route, we moved lanes very smoothly. Here, as the lights change, there was a period of time there where even though I had FSD navigate on autopilot, would be very slow and accelerating off of a light. Now all of this accelerating, decelerating from points where we're meant to stop, changing lanes, all of it feels so much more smooth and so much more human-like. And I think that's a big contributor to why my riders had no idea. So in the end, I didn't get the kind of reactions I wanted. I made a little bit of extra pocket money, so that was kind of fun. And really, all I had to do was sit here and supervise the car as it did it. That doesn't mean there weren't zero interventions. There were a couple of interventions. But for the most part, it was just hitting the accelerator pedal when necessary. So it may come up on our drive today, but I think the major pain points that remain are probably, one is overreacting to situations by braking. I continue to think that it needs to to use the accelerator as a tool and not just the brake, because a lot of times slamming on the brake is not the safe thing to do. We're going to get rear-ended. The next, or T-boned in one case, actually, when I had cross traffic that, it should have kept going, but because it said, oh no, there's a thing happening, I need to stop, then stopping was the wrong thing to do in that case as well. The other thing that it still needs work on is more planning around changing its speed in order to get over into another lane. It does a much better job than it used to. Hopefully we'll see that here as we have to cross a couple of lanes in order to make a left turn in 0.7 of a mile. But, if it were me, I would already be in the middle lane. But instead, the car is choosing to remain here in the rightmost lane. And it's not really throttling its speed in order to make an opportunity to get over yet. Because it's not that, like, it is currently not trying to. Now it is. You can see it's turned blue. And so we're going to try to get over. But I think it's probably a little bit later than I would try. Because now we're down to 0.3 of a mile before the turn. So it's probably going to be fine. But I've seen many cases where it just isn't quite aggressive and accelerating or decelerating in order to make the maneuver in time or in a comfortable way. Like, I think it's allowing for too much risk that we're going to miss an opportunity to make the maneuver at the end. So that's kind of my perception here. But again, you might remember in a previous video, this turn was not possible for Beta, and that's because the nav was telling it to perform a U-turn. So now that nav is telling it to perform a left turn, you can see that it is properly trying to make this left turn. And we're going to get here. This is my simple grocery run, and so far so good. So here we're waiting. I don't know why. We should be proceeding in order to at least look a little bit. I think it's waiting for this guy in front of us, and now for the next one in front of us. But it's taking way too long, so I'm having to intervene and hit the accelerator a little bit here so that we can get to a point where we can see, and yes, we can now complete the maneuver. So, again, the only issue with this drive was overly skittishness there, where it wasn't willing to move forward and make that turn when it totally could have. And that seems to have been something that they put in place after 11.3.1, where a lot of the YouTubers were saying they were having great success. So I think they're just putting in some guardrails here, and hopefully over time, Tesla will become more comfortable with letting those guardrails down. But I would say this was quite a good and relaxing drive getting to the grocery store. And I'll be back with you in a moment, and then we'll continue our trip. All right, guys, time to continue the trip. And so I think what we'll do is let Beta try to drive a little bit here in the parking lot. I'm not going to expect a lot. It is a little bit tricky stuff. So we'll see what happens. Let's see about that nav though. Yeah, that's not going to work. So again, the route that's showing up on the nav doesn't make any sense in real life. I think maybe it's the GPS thing again. So instead of trying to do something that's definitely not going to work, we're going to go over here and try to see if I can get that to recalculate properly. Because, yeah, I really don't know what's going on there. Okay, here we go. So now we've recalculated to something that makes a lot more sense, I think. No, okay, no, it thinks we need to pull a UE. Oh, which we do. Okay, yeah, so it's not able to do that. So I'm asking it to do something it's not able to do. So that's fine. Oh, maybe I should have let it do the other thing. It was probably going to run through the parking lot in some way. All right, my bad, guys. Sorry about that. I am just going to find another way here soon. Okay, good. We got a little opportunity to go now. And I think probably what I'm going to do is just have it make a couple of right turns if we can. Let's see if it'll reroute and find another way to get there that doesn't involve a U-turn, and it does. Oh, just something happened there. That was weird. So, okay, what's happening now is it's recalculating too slowly, and it's passing all of these opportunities. So, okay, now it's going to go over and give me an opportunity to make my U-turn. So I'm going to help it by completing the maneuver for it. There we go. All right. So pulling our UE here, and then the car will be able to take over at that time. So that is another issue, is that the recalculation time is too slow, oftentimes. And so beta's not able to figure things out. So you can see even now, it's got this weird route here planned that doesn't make any sense. And okay, now it's finally recalculated to make sense for where we are and what we've done. So that definitely needs work. That absolutely needs some work. Because beta is going to miss turns, and it needs to be able to figure things out a lot more quickly than what we just had. And then also, at least for now, when it can do U-turns, it needs to prioritize ways to get around that don't involve a U-turn. Now that we're back on track, I foresee, well, famous last words, right? Let's knock on wood, but probably we really won't have any more trouble getting from here to our destination. All we've got to do is make a left here, follow the road, and then take a right and then a left. So here we have a protected left. We've got a green arrow. So here we go. We're following along at a decent pace. I'm more aggressive than it is. You can see it continues to favor the leftmost lane rather than the middle lane, which is fine. Everyone's got a different opinion about that, I'm sure. Okay, good. I was worried that was a pothole, but it was too small for it to do any damage. So here we go. But again, just all of the takeoff speeds, all of that, just very, very natural, very, very good. It's not quite that aggressive. So I would move in the middle lane because this Prius is only going 41. So in fact, I'm going to choose to do that, guys. Sorry, I just, yeah, I can't stand falling behind that. And it's funny because it's all beat up and it says the Asia Driving School on it. I happen to be half Japanese, by the way. Not that, you know. Anyway. Actually, I always joke with my occupants that I'm not that great of a driver, and so they're lucky that, you know, Beta's driving instead of me. The truth is, I'm a fine driver, I just can't multitask, so I'm really not capable of talking and driving at the same time, and so I wouldn't be able to make these videos without Beta. Alright, someone is honking at somebody, but I don't believe it was us, so we are good to go here. And one thing I will be a little bit curious about is in previous versions, lane selection wasn't all that great. I don't like it when it favors the rightmost lane because it stops people from being able to take a right turn on red. I just think it's a little bit discourteous to do that when you plan to continue going forward for, you know, quite some more distance. So far so good, and hanging out here in the middle lane. Cautious around this truck that was edging into our lane. Looks like he's paying attention now. And this is the part that's just so much more relaxing on Beta than driving in any of the cars. You don't have to worry about lights or traffic speeding up, slowing down too much. There was a bit of an overreaction. I'm not sure what happened there. May have been that SUV that was coming up to the intersection. That tends to be right now one of the modes where Beta is way too skittish, where it thinks if there's a chance that this vehicle will cross our path, then it slows down too aggressively. Because, I mean, really, what's the 3 miles an hour going to do, right? It's just, it's not going to do anything except potentially cause an issue with the guys behind us. Which there weren't any, so that was good. I would have hit the accelerator if there were. Alright, see how we do with the flashing yellows here. Pretty good, I think, mostly because we have the lead car. Sometimes I've seen it be a little bit hesitant there. That was fun. I know we are supposed to be cautious at those flashing yellows anyway, so that was reasonable. Oh man, sorry about the audio there. I had the mic positioned a ways from me and I didn't realize. continuously changing in order to get into the faster lane. I'm not sure if you can see there, but it does tell us why it's changing lanes now, which is a really nice improvement. So it'll say if it's moving away from blockage or waiting for our turn at a stop sign, intersection, and then also this thing about, getting around slow-moving traffic. We are kind of hanging out in the left lane here at the moment, which, I probably wouldn't do. Let's see. Perfect. Just as I was saying that, Beta moves over and goes back to the middle lane where we have to be. Just doing a great job here. Okay, about 9/10 of a mile away from our right turn, we're getting into the right lane, rightmost lane. So I really can't tell how it makes the decision of when is the right time to get over. Again, we saw with the left turn to get into Kroger that it waited much, much later, whereas now it's doing it much, much earlier. So I really don't know. It's a little bit unfortunate too because we got this slowpoke in front of us going at 40, but they're looking for their turn. I can see that they kind of blinked their signal for a minute, now they're going, they don't really know what they're doing. So it would have been nice actually to have waited a little longer and got in front of them, but that's okay. Again, it's just a beautiful Saturday drive here. I'm actually headed over to the swimming pool, and so it's going to be just fine. A little bit of construction here, so it's probably going to have me nag me more to keep my hands on the wheel, which is a good thing. Wants to make sure that you're paying attention. It is slowing down a little. The cone phobia has not gone away. Beta is still terrified of cones, but driving just fine as it is. I'm keeping good pressure on the wheel though to make sure that it doesn't get too close to going into those holes. Here I had to hit the accelerator a little bit just to edge her to move forward. She got a little bit freaked out because all of a sudden we had cones on both sides. Okay, here we go. Good. No collision there. I was a little bit worried about that guy coming across, but Beta wasn't. So it's still, I'm not exactly sure. It must have to do with the speed of their approach as to when it thinks that there's the potential for danger from cross traffic. But here to assess the situation properly, we made our turn, and we're going to navigate through all this construction, I guess. Let's see what happens. I did not expect for all this construction to be here. So when I knocked on wood earlier about making this the rest of the drive safely, the problem is we are going to need to get over 2 lanes in order to make a left turn coming up in 4/10 of a mile. And I don't know that that Beta knows how to do that. So yeah, it does not. So I'm going to go ahead and take over, find an opportunity to make a left turn to get over, and that's going to be that. So let me try to find a spot. Here's a spot. It's not the best spot, but it is a spot. Plus we get to check out a nice LC500 in front of us, which is a pretty cool car. I like it a lot. This guy's just sitting here with the stuff. Oh geez. There's all this rubbish in the road that I don't really want to run over. I don't know what happened there. All right, so re-engaging Beta here. Now that we've gone through this mess. Beta's very unsure because of the cones. Again, massive cone phobia. So I am holding the accelerated pedal in order to keep Beta moving forward. Hopefully they'll be done with all this construction one day. Because I tell you, these Beta drives are so much better without construction. She is just so afraid of traffic cones. But yeah, nice to see this LC500. Beautiful car. Okay, we got the green arrows, so easy protected left here. Get to see what the trajectory is when there are no kind of guidelines. And again, yep, opting for this leftmost lane. So I was hoping to be able to make both stops, get to Kroger and to my friend's place without having to take over at all, but construction thwarted us, unfortunately. Bit of bad luck there with the lights. Oh, As I said that, the light turns green, so never mind. And you can see here just nice natural acceleration. The guy next to us accelerated a tiny bit more quickly, but they're being more aggressive. So what I mean to say is that their acceleration was higher than normal. So against normal traffic, our acceleration is actually high, but not uncomfortably high. So I think it's a very, very good level now. And again here, starting to slow down at a very natural time. I think it does use a little bit less regeneration and more of the brakes than it used to. Okay, my lane is going to end and we're going to have to merge. So I'm going to pay a little bit more attention here. Because unfortunately, yeah, it's kind of sticky right now. Here we go, and the lane's ending and Beta is moving over. Okay, great, intervention free. But helped out by, of course, the Porsche behind me, allowing for tons of room. So it's a little bit more tense than I would have liked, but everything worked out just fine. Okay, we got to make a left turn here. Could be a tricky one. Cars tend to fly pretty quickly along this road, but it looks like we ended up having very lucky timing with no cross traffic. Excellent. Okay, here we are. I'm going to manually reduce the speed here just because there's a lot of youngsters around here who drive like crazy punks. And so, yeah, driving a little slower is probably the wise thing to do. All right, that worked out just fine. Going to get here and we'll be taking a right turn. And then that will be where the navigation ends. And I'll take over to get to a parking spot. It says it's waiting for our turn, but it doesn't make any sense. That guy was going forward, so I had to intervene again and hit the accelerator. So that was weird. I'm not sure why it thought there was a turn thing when we're both going in the same direction. So, yeah, that was odd. Alright guys, so that was the drive. It went pretty well. I think I kind of tripped up Beta a little bit at one point there, and just can't do U-turns, so that remains an issue. But otherwise, I remain to be quite pleased with its performance, and hopefully as we go along, it's going to be able to tackle more and more of those little maneuvers that it's still unable to do, and get rid of some of that overly cautiousness with cross traffic and what have you. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.